Hey everyone, I'm going to review with you what I read in January 2026. Pardon the glare on the glasses, I've got a few notes here on my desktop, so I'm going to try to not have that happen, but no promises. Well, do I need them? I'm going to try to go without the glasses, so we'll see how it goes. Alright, so let's just dive right in. I bet that you will be able to tell what the theme is for 2026 after I go over the first couple of books. So the first book I read in January was called The First Mistake by Sandie Jones. This came out in 2019, and this was about a woman. Well, I'll kind of go over the inside cover because this is what attracted me to the book in the first place. The wife. For Alice, life has never been better. With her second husband, she has a successful business, 2 children, and a beautiful house. Her husband. Alice knows that life could have been different if her first husband had lived, but Nathan's arrival into her life gave her back the happiness she craved. Her best friend. Through the ups and downs of life, from celebratory nights out to comforting each other through loss, Alice knows that with her best friend Beth by her side, they can survive anything together. So when Nathan starts acting strangely, Alice turns to Beth for help, but soon Alice begins to wonder whether her trust has been misplaced. The first mistake could be her last. I read this about 2 months ago, so I'm going to try to remember the deal. I gave it 4 stars, so I did enjoy it. Initially, I picked it up in one of my recent Goodwill hauls because it kind of looks like a Leanne Moriarty book. Ergo, it looks like a book I would gravitate towards. It had like the domestic thriller vibes. Apparently, this is by the same author of The Other Woman, which was a Reese's Book Club pick. I haven't read that, but I would like to. Because like I said, it was 4 stars. I did enjoy it. You do have dual perspectives because you see the wife, Alice's perspective, and then you also see her best friend, Beth's. They both have, like, secrets, and things are kind of unveiled throughout. It probably would have been a 5-star book, except that there was a couple of character things that I didn't quite buy. But I really enjoyed it, and I remember towards the end it kept me kind of engaged, and I just couldn't put it down. And I would read more by this author as well. The next book I read was The Twice Hanged Man by Priscilla Royal. This is a series I came to find out. How many are there? I think there was quite a few. Does it tell me? Yeah, so there's quite a few books already in the medieval mysteries series, but this was one that Janelle loaned to me, and she hadn't read it yet, but I decided to give it a go, because it's definitely not something I would pick up. It's like a medieval mystery, like it says. And on the back it says, imagine an Agatha Christie mystery set in the late 13th century, and you'll have a pretty good picture of this very well-executed mystery. And I would agree. I kind of got Agatha Christie vibes as I was reading this book. I gave it 3 stars. A couple of reasons for that. I did enjoy it. It was very... There were a lot of religious themes, and I am not particularly religious myself. But while there were a lot of religious themes in the book, because it follows like a nun, I don't think she's called a nun, but that's the gist of what my takeaway was. Oh, she's a prioress. A prioress. I don't know. But basically when I Googled that, it's kind of a nun. And just other church officials in the medieval times. Can you tell that I'm not religious? So because it was from their perspective, of course those themes were present, but they weren't presented in like a preachy, judgmental, you should align with these values kind of a way. It was very present, and it came up a lot to the point where I was kind of like, is this the book for me? I'm not sure. Then one of the characters ends up having conflicting feelings about their sexuality, and so that kind of piqued my interest because now there's something interesting happening, like, oh, there's this religious figure and they have these feelings and they're trying to reconcile that, and so that was interesting to read. The mystery of it was good. It definitely kept me interested. I came to care about the characters. It was only 3 stars for me, probably because, one, it was a part of a series, and I think I was missing, with series that are long running like this, I think a lot of overarching things happen from book to book, and what I was looking for was a bit more of things to be tied up. There were a few plot points I would have liked to have had tied up neatly at the end, but they are obviously being left for other books to revisit. So at the end of the day, I was kind of like, could I see myself wanting to read more from the series? And it wasn't a definite yes, which is, again, kind of why I was like, just a 3, not a 4. If I see any more of these books, if I see any more medieval mysteries, I would probably grab them. I don't think they need to be read in any kind of particular order, even though I mentioned that thing about overarching plots, because I think that it does kind of do a good job of catching the reader up on what's happened in the past so that you do know what's going on. I didn't really say much more about what the plot was about, I guess. Let's see if I can remember. So the Twice Hanged Man, basically, there is a death in this village, and so the prioress and her team are kind of called upon to investigate because the village thinks it's a ghost, because there was a man who was hanged twice, and they think that his ghost is seeking vengeance, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But that's who the Twice Hanged Man is this potential ghost, and why these people are in the village. So I did think that it was fine. It wasn't super riveting. This, unlike the last book, didn't like keep me turning the pages. It felt slightly like a chore to get through, but again, that's probably just because of the religious themes. But I did still enjoy it, and I would read more by this author. Then I read 3 Days Missing by Kimberly Belle, and I think it's kind of funny that it has a $3 sticker here as well. So you might have gathered by now, I'm reading books in numerical order for 2026. I picked up The First Mistake, and I kind of, because it was the end of the year, it was December, and I was thinking, what should I read for the first book in January? And then I glanced at my shelf, and I saw The First Mistake, and I thought, oh, The First Mistake can be my first book that I read. And then I kind of started looking around, and I realized I have all these other numbered books. Like I had 9 Perfect Strangers, which I have read already, but that's just an example. I had a few others, and so I kind of was like, okay, let's see if I can do this, and let's just get them in sequential order. I'll be out thrifting and looking for books. I can borrow them. So the two and 3 I actually borrowed from Janelle, so I have to get these back to her. But anyway, that's the theme. I'm on 3 now. So 3 Days Missing. This is about a woman whose daughter goes to like an overnight camp, and then the camp calls because she disappeared in the middle of the night, and she's missing for a total of 3 days. And the mother is obviously at her wit's end, wondering what happened to her daughter. And so this one, pretty quick read. I think I read it, probably pretty quickly, within a couple of days. The Twice Hanged Man took me longer just because I kept putting it down and walking away. But this one I really enjoyed, and I guess maybe a popcorn thriller is how I've heard books described, where you just kind of pick it up and it's quick paced and whatnot. There were some twists which I appreciated, and I would read more by this author as well. Oh, I didn't tell you. The Twice Hanged Man also came out in 2019, and then Kimberly Belle's 3 Days Missing came out in 2018. This one I gave 4 stars, just kind of for all the reasons I just said. Definitely really liked it. The twist especially. It probably would have been a 3 or 3.5, but then there was a twist at the end, which I was like, okay, you got me, and went ahead and gave him that extra half a star. Next, I attempted to read All Fours by Miranda July, and this book is not for me. I DNF'd it, and I rarely DNF books. I feel like it would take a lot for me to do that for some reason. I'm a completionist, maybe is why, but this one, immediately I could tell that it was a little raunchy, vulgar. I'm not a prude by any means, and this is described as like a sexual awakening for a middle-aged woman, so it's not for me. But there was a lot of like kind of sexual things that were just like kind of dropped in that didn't feel organic, almost like it was done for shock value or to kind of shock the reader or something, which, okay, I guess, fine. But I also didn't like the main character, so it's a character I do not like. going through a sexual awakening, which doesn't interest me as a gay man. And again, it's just kind of like just a little vulgar, a little crass. And so it wasn't for me. I think I put it down after 11 pages. I tried, but it was like every 2 pages, something raunchy was being thrown in, and and the main character is just not likable at all. And so I don't know, maybe she goes on some sort of adventure and becomes likable, but it wasn't. I wasn't gonna give her the chance. I felt like I have too many books waiting to read, so I tried all 4s. Which, I mean, the title alone, I should have kind of got the clue. But this book came out in 2024. I'm not gonna rate it just because I only made it 11 pages in. And for the book for the type of person this book is for, maybe it's a good book, but I just could not get through it. So I will be unhauling that one. So then, because that 4 didn't count, I picked up another one at Goodwill called NYPD Red 4 by James Patterson and Marshall Karp. I'm reading this backwards in the camera. James Patterson and Marshall Karp. I, first of all, think my mom already had this book, so I shouldn't have spent, oh my god, $8? This must have been half off. This has an $8 sticker on it at Goodwill, but it was a blue tag, and I think all the blue tags were half off. So I probably spent $4 on this. I'm pretty sure my mom has it already. So this book, just a few more of the logistics, I guess. It came out in 2016. This book, James Patterson is one that I tried reading probably 20 years ago, and my issue with him at that point was that his chapters are like a page and a half long, and it's every chapter, and I like to get lost in a book, and when the chapters are consistently so short, it's really hard for me to do that. And that being said, it's been 20 years. Maybe I have more patience or something, so I thought, okay, I'll try another James Patterson. And then I've since learned that James Patterson, it seems, you know, he turns out so many books, and he partners with a lot of people because he essentially kind of loans his name out for other authors. He's like, okay, yeah, add my name to it, or it's like an umbrella, like the James Patterson organization, and then different authors are a part of that. He didn't necessarily write the book, which is why his books have different vibes to them or have different author voices. So it all makes sense to me. And so that being said, I decided to pick this book up. It had a 4, so I needed a new 4. This one is the 4th book in the NYPD Red series, so I probably should have guessed that. The problem I run into is that I like to go into books blind. I don't really want to read the back. I want to know just enough to know if it would be interesting to me, and then I just go in blind, because I don't want to be... If I read the back, or if I know too much, I'm kind of anticipating something to happen that I know is coming, or I'm looking harder for clues, or I'm trying harder to guess. And so when I just go in blind, I can just enjoy the story more. And that's what I prefer when I'm reading, because I want it to be an escape more than anything. So all of that to say, I gave this 1 star. I kind of hate Reddit. So after I put down all 4s, which I hated, I picked up this one, and I could immediately tell I didn't really like it because of, 1, the chapter length, 2, there was like no characters that I was rooting for that I liked. It's a police procedural. The police featured on a few occasions do bad things, behave badly, and then they're like rewarded for it. So it's kind of like, you know, I don't know. I just didn't appreciate the perspective of the police going above the law or taking things into their own hands to get the result they know that they need. I don't really like that. The plot of this one, do I remember it? Let's see here. I'm going to put my glasses on to read this here. All right, it's another glamorous night in the heart of Manhattan, a grisly movie premiere, a gorgeous starlet. Okay, I'm starting to remember now. Yeah, so this woman gets killed. She's like a Hollywood starlet. The NYPD Red is an elite task force that's assigned to special cases. It's a male and a woman partner. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't really like any of the characters. It's basically a police procedural, and that's all you really need to know. It's described as an audacious heist a shocking murder, a case only NYPD Red can solve. I don't know that I thought it was super audacious. I didn't think it was shocking at all. It didn't seem like a special case to me. I don't know. It felt like a lot of hype, and I kind of read this book because I immediately didn't like it, like I said. But then I'm like, I'm not putting another 4 down. I need to finish this one. And I read it like in 24 hours because I just hate reading it. I was like, let me just get through this thing. So I probably won't read any more of the NYPD Red series. I would be open to trying more James Patterson. I think I should give him a few different tries just because, again, his books do vary depending on who he's partnering with. So I'm open. I'll probably give him, maybe I'll try like 4 or 5 James Patterson. We'll see how the next couple go, but this one I did not like and I gave it 1 star. So this seemed like the perfect opportunity to try Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. So because my first 2 4s were kind of a bust and didn't really count because I DNF'd 1 and the other one was a 4 in a series, so it felt like cheating. I kind of needed to have a 4 that was organically in the title, and Fourth Wing met that. This I had heard of a little while ago. It came out in 2023, so I think I probably heard about it when it first came out because one of my friends read it and she really liked it. It's like a YA, or maybe it's not YA. It's I think it's called New Adult or something like that. It's not YA because it's not teens and there's like a lot of smut happening, which is not in YA books. It came out in 2023. It's about dragons, and I enjoyed it, honestly. It's a pretty big book. It's fantasy, and kind of like, not dystopian, but this fantasy world where they're in this training center, and you can go into one of like 4 different camps when you become of age, and one of them is the Dragon Riders. And this girl her name is Violet. She wants to be a scribe, like one of the historians in the library, but in their words, not mine. And that's what she wanted her whole life to do, but her mom is like the general and made her go into the Dragon Rider camp. And so the book is kind of about her journey there. A few things about this book. I gave it 4 stars. I did like it. And I will keep reading the series, but there are no more numbers in those titles, so I'm going to have to circle back to them later. But at the beginning, there's a lot of Violet not having faith in herself and just being like, I'm going to die. And it's just like constant and incessant where she's like, I'm going to die anyway, so it doesn't matter. And it's like, to the point where as a reader, you're like, well, it's hard for me to root for you because you're not rooting for yourself. And I am having a hard time figuring out how you're going to get out of this scenario that you got yourself into, but she ends up managing to get through it. There was some cool action scenes, a lot of death, kind of like reminded me of the Hunger Games, just with the amount of death that they experience through these trials that they go through. It was a 4-star instead of a 5-star for me because it really reads like YA. It's basically a YA with smut, and it's hard for me to kind of compartmentalize those two things. Like when I'm reading a YA book, I don't want to think about sex. And so fortunately, the sex is not throughout. There's like maybe 2 scenes that happen, and they're long because it was like 4 pages that I was like, okay, this is 4 pages of this one scene. But it happened twice. So I'd say maybe like 6 pages total out of however many there are, 500 or something like that. Yeah, 500 and some, like 15. So for 6 of them to be sexy, I could deal with that because I could just skim through whenever that was starting if I didn't care to read it, and I really didn't. So it was easily avoidable. It wasn't super relevant to the plot, which is kind of what smut is, but it wasn't distracting, I guess. But it was there, and it was just very YA, and I feel like if it had been a bit more adult, I could have given it 5 stars, but I really did enjoy it, and I would like to read the rest of the series. I guess there's 3 out right now, and then a 4th one that's in the works. So I will be returning to this world. So those are the 6 books that I read in January, 5 of them that I completed. I am continuing the number series into February, and I will have that video for you next month. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.